Hey there, everyone. Welcome to today's DBT Launch Showcase virtual event. My name is Leah Houston, and I'm a Senior Campaign Specialist here at DBT Labs, and I'm so excited to be kicking things off today. If you haven't already, please let us know in the chat where you're joining us from. We're so thrilled to welcome y'all to today's event. We have a record number of attendees joining us from around the world. Over 7,000 people registered across our regional sessions. That is an incredible milestone for us. So thank you for being here on what is truly a historic day in DBT Labs' journey. We're so grateful that you carved out the time to join us as we unveil the future of DBT. Alrighty, before we begin, we're going to talk about Coalesce, the premier analytics engineering conference. It's coming up in October, and we'd love for y'all to join us in person in Las Vegas, or you can also join us virtually. And you can network with data peers and leaders from around the world, gain expert insights from top industry leaders, get a front row seat to new product announcements from DBT Labs, and we'll be launching Coalesce training and certifications in June, so stay tuned for those. We also are doing some special Coalesce giveaways for today's Launch Showcase attendees. So to enter, you must be registered for Coalesce, either in person or Coalesce Online, and Coalesce Online is totally free. And you must be registered for Coalesce before the end of today's session. So you can register there, scan the QR code with your phone, or we'll drop a link to register for Coalesce in the chat. Also, to be entered to win, you have to attend one of the regional launch showcase sessions, and you're already here, so that part of your entry is done. However, if you have any friends who are not here yet, please send them a message and let them know, hey, you better hop over to DBT's launch showcase, and also make sure you're registered for Coalesce so you don't miss out on one of the giveaways. We're going to announce those winners on May 30th, so check your email inbox for that. Also, as a thanks for tuning into today's event, we're giving all of today's attendees a special in-person Coalesce discount that's over 50% off the regular price. So stay tuned until the end of today's presentation to grab your discount code. Alrighty, some housekeeping things. We've got a Q&A tab. Please ask your questions in that Q&A tab so that way a DBT product expert can find that question and answer it for y'all. We also have the chat tab. That's the tab you've been letting us know where you're joining us from. So please continue to use that for banter about the presentation and have some fun with us today. Today's recording, we will send out today's recording within 24 hours after this event. So check your email inbox for that, as with some additional follow-up resources. And then a survey, we're gonna launch a survey at the end of today's session. So please take that survey for us. We'd love to know how to improve these sessions for y'all in the future. Today's agenda, we're going to start off with an executive keynote. Then we're going to go into the main event, empowering the enterprise for the next era of analytics. Let's go. Then we're going to talk about how we're empowering analysts, organizations, and developers. And then we're going to bring it all together for one DBT. Alrighty, here are today's presenters. We've got a fantastic group. I'm so excited to pass things over to them. They're going to walk you through what our team has been so hard at work building. So to kick things off, please welcome our founder and CEO, Tristan Handy. He'll be diving into how analytics is evolving in the age of AI and what it means for the future of data work. So over to you, Tristan.
Hello, everyone. It is awesome to be here with you today. I want to spend the next few minutes talking about the data ecosystem, where we're at, where we're headed, and what it all means for the DBT community. Let's start here. This is a graph that talks about how technologies are adopted. All major technologies go through what's called an S-curve. They start out niche with a few early adopters, then they catch fire and adoption climbs quickly. Eventually, they hit a point of natural saturation, and the chart levels off. You can see this happen over and over again with mass market technologies. My single favorite S-curve is cumulative miles of railroad track in the US. This chart is made with real data. Obviously, in 1800, we didn't have any railroads. And then, mid-century, things accelerated quickly. By 1910, there was just about all the railroad track that anyone needed. This pattern happens over and over again with groundbreaking technologies. So I want to pose the question, where are we in the arc of data? Are we here, still at the very beginning of all of this, with so much growth left to see? Or are we here? We've done a lot. We've impacted lots of people, but honestly, everybody has about all the data that they could ever use. Before trying to answer that, let me introduce another concept, S-curve stacking. The way the technologies advance over a long time period is that there are successive waves of innovation. Each wave makes the next wave possible, but each wave is distinct. Here's an example. The PC enabled the internet, enabled social, enabled mobile, enabled cloud, enabled AI. Each one of these builds on top of the next, but they're distinct from one another. Here's how I see the S-curves stack in data. We start with the advent of the public cloud and the rise of Hadoop right alongside of it. But Hadoop didn't go as far as anyone had hoped. And instead, we saw the rise of what I call the cloud data era. Redshift, Snowflake, BigQuery, Fivetran, dbt, analytics engineering, data ops, the separation of storage and compute. All of this has played out in the cloud data era. But now, I believe that we're moving into a new era. And this is unknown territory. When new eras arise, all bets are off. New eras bring progress, and they also bring disruption. I think the two dominant forces in this new era are AI and open standards. And we sit right on the cusp of this new era. I want to frame the rest of my time with you from this perspective, AI and standards. So let me hit AI first. Here's a stat from the 2025 State of Analytics Engineering report. Today, 80% of data teams are using AI in their daily workflow. That's incredible. I feel like that may be at a higher rate than even software engineers. Here's what folks reported using AI for. The biggest group, 70%, are using it to write code. Shocker. Almost half are using it to write documentation. This is exactly why we launched dbt Copilot. My belief is that AI will completely disrupt the practice of data engineering. Not the profession itself, but how tasks are actually done. dbt Copilot, launched at our event in March, already goes a long way towards automating some of the most common tasks for data and analytics engineers. And I'm excited to go a lot deeper with this product. In a little bit, you'll see how Copilot is touching more and more parts of the dbt experience. But AI isn't going to just disrupt data engineering. It's going to disrupt data analysis. MCP, Model Context Protocol, and the dbt MCP server bring all of the context locked up in your dbt projects right into your model of choice. This enables the kind of self-service experience that we have wanted for, 3 or so decades. Let's take a look at the dbt MCP server in action. Isn't that cool? The first time I got my hands on the DBT MCP server was just fascinating. If you haven't played with it yet, I highly recommend taking a few minutes and doing just that. It's actually not that hard to set up. And if this is the first time you're hearing about MCP and the DBT MCP server, check out the post I wrote about it a few weeks ago at roundup.gettbt.com. But today, I want to talk about the standards part of this era. Let's review some ground truths of the data ecosystem today. Ground truth number one, the data ecosystem is not going to consolidate down to a single vendor. That's not happening. Ground truth number two, even within a given company, there will be multiple vendors. Different teams have different requirements. M&A drives heterogeneity and more. Companies will have multiple data systems. Ground truth number three, companies care tremendously about being able to unify their investments across multiple platforms. Even if they need to use multiple tools, standards allow them to share resources, shift workloads, and create flexibility. This is the context in which Iceberg has proliferated. Standards empower flexibility and choice in multi-vendor ecosystems. This is also the context that's driving standards in more areas. Over the last 9 years, DBT has become a standard in data engineering. It's in use by 60,000 companies today, just behind Spark and Airflow as the most widely deployed tools in data engineering. DBT as a standard can be thought of in a few layers. The authoring layer, the outer circle, describes the DBT project itself. It has a bunch of SQL and YAML, maybe some Python. It complies with a bunch of rules for what makes a well-formed DBT project. The engine is the technology that takes that DBT code and makes it real. It renders Jinja, builds dependency graphs, and deploys everything into your data platform. Over the last 9 years, we've extended the DBT authoring layer in a lot of ways. DBT developers today have so much more flexibility than they ever have. Over the years, we've added Python models, native support for grants, data contracts, unit testing, microbatch partition-aware incremental models, and so much more that define the DBT experience today. But the engine at the heart of the DBT ecosystem, DBT Core, it's fundamentally built on the same technologies that it launched with in 2016. I, like many of you, love DBT Core. I seriously, I still remember the fever dreams that I had back in 2016 of how I could build this awesome tool that stacked tables and views recursively on top of each other to infinity. It's views all the way down. And the fact that over 1 million developers use it today, it's unbelievable. DBT Core has succeeded beyond my wildest expectations. Over the last few years, though, I felt constrained by what the technology behind DBT Core was letting us do. There are some things that it just wasn't built to do. Back in 2016, we wanted to be able to quickly deploy tables and views to Redshift, and we weren't thinking about IntelliSense or MCP servers or workload portability or intelligent cost optimization. Or the fact, much less, the fact that natural language may well take over as the dominant way to access data. But the ecosystem changes, requirements change, and the engine behind DBT needs to change too. As it turns out, we've pushed this engine about as far as it'll go over the course of 9 years, and it's time for an upgrade. Enter the DBT Fusion engine. Earlier this year, we made an important acquisition because we knew it was time for the engine behind DBT to evolve. Fusion, the direct result of fusing SDF technology into DBT, is the future of DBT. It brings users 30x faster parse and compile times, native multi-dialect SQL comprehension, best-in-class developer tooling, PII tagging and propagation, error checking before you run anything, local compute, workload portability, massive cost savings, and more. Fusion is freaking awesome. Fusion is an unlock for every single person using DBT. And it's purpose-built for the new AI and standards era we find ourselves in. I'll let Elias go into details later in the show, but I am incredibly excited about what we're shipping you today, and I cannot wait to hear your feedback. I can't even tell you the last time I was this excited about a launch. And it's all come together so quickly. I'm so impressed by the SDF team and what they built in the labs. And I'm excited by how the two teams, when smashed together back in January, have executed in lockstep to bring this technology to over 60,000 teams in under 6 months. Rebuilding the engine at the heart of a thriving developer ecosystem is never easy, and this team moved fast. Thank you, folks. I'll be back later to talk about the details of how we're distributing Fusion to the entire DBT community. But for now, thanks for hanging out, and let's dive in. I'd like to introduce James Mayfield to give an overview of all the amazing stuff we're going to share today.
Thanks, Tristan. It's always so invigorating to hear your perspective on how the industry and the practice of analytics are evolving. I couldn't agree more about how this AI wave will revolutionize the way we all work with data. I'm James, and I lead our product management team here at DBT Labs. I am so excited to be speaking at this event and look forward to providing an overview of how we've delivered new product enhancements, new features, and new interfaces, all of which were designed and built with empathy for our customers and community. After my overview portion, you'll hear directly from PMs on the team, Patrick, Neha, and Elias, who will go a level deeper and provide demos on what we're actually shipping today. The ADLC. Here is my friendly reminder that even in a world with quickly evolving AI features and copilots, there is still a human being participating in the ADLC. There are real people who observe, discover, analyze, plan, develop, test, deploy, and operate data assets for their organizations. Clean handoffs between these personas on different teams with different skill sets has always been a challenge in the ADLC. Data tooling today needs to support more personas who can engage with these data workflows and to use AI as a means to supercharge the implementation of best practices right from the start. Data is a team sport after all, and different personas play best with tools crafted to fit their jobs to be done. And supporting all those personas working together as one team is what team sports is all about. The innovations we're about to share today are designed to empower our users, whether they be data developers, data analysts, or data organization leaders, to standardize on DBT. Starting off with developers. It's clear that data developers, data engineers, analytics engineers have always been right at the heart of an organization's data practice. And making these folks successful is at the heart of our company mission at DBT. With AI features integrated into the data development workflows, we are improving developer efficiency, reducing toil, and making these folks more productive, more delighted, and more confident than they ever have been before. It's also no secret that we at DBT have invested serious resources as a company to keep up with advancements in our space this year. We remain steadfastly committed to DBT being the industry standard for building and scaling data transformation workloads. In just a few minutes, you'll learn more about how to get access to our new Fusion engine, which natively supports SQL comprehension and dramatically improves ergonomics of authoring and operating data pipelines. Not only that, we'll talk more about how our VS Code extension and our state-aware orchestration features, which are two of the most highly requested roadmap items ever from our community and customers, are now going to be coming to life in our platform. Then there's analysts. We need to make sure that analysts are empowered as well. dbt has revolutionized how work gets done by data developers, but this can't be the only persona served by our tools, and it doesn't complete the story of the ADLC. When we think about analysts, we need to talk about our research showing that many companies, analysts actually outnumber data developers 5 to 1, 10 to 1, or even 20 to 1. Data analysts hold a treasure trove of business context in their data work, yet they often find themselves left out of the ADLC. Without accessible tooling, without the ability to contribute that business context back into their lifecycle. Our next announcements will be aimed at showing how dbt is evolving our tools and visual interfaces to support data analysts and involve them seamlessly in this one team workflow, empowering analysts to participate in a way that is governed, collaborative, and accessible. And of course, all these data analyst workflows will be supported by the latest AI improvements from dbt Copilot, making these things delightful and efficient while cementing the right way of adopting software engineering best practices into data work. dbt Canvas, which you'll hear much more about, is an entirely new interface for visual development of dbt models. dbt Insights is a whole new tool on our platform that analysts can use to easily query data from their warehouse without switching between tabs. Insights provides a seamless on-ramp to take ad hoc queries that you've written and author dbt models from them, which can then be scheduled to be run regularly. We're also expanding our dbt catalog feature sets to have functionality that works across all individual dbt projects in a holistic way. This is the first time that an account holder will be able to search across these cataloged assets. All these new features for the data analyst persona will be easily procured and managed now with our new seat type that we're simply calling the analyst seat. Lastly, we should talk about empowering data organizations. Data organizations have a mandate to ensure that they're optimizing costs and being responsible stewards of their data budgets. In doing so, they also need to future-proof their chosen architectures so that these are easy to scale and govern using standard management solutions like SCIM. When data leaders choose dbt for their organizations, they choose the industry standard solution for data transformation, but they also choose the flexible metadata platform that spans all major storage and compute ecosystems. This means that data orgs can avoid vendor lock-in and begin building cross-platform infra solutions, including building on top of exciting new file formats like Iceberg. You'll hear more about this cost management and how we've been eating our own dog food internally here at dbt to manage costs through monitoring and remediation already to great effect. This monitoring, remediation, and avoidance set of features will be one cornerstone of the product roadmap in coming months. In closing, it's all about data developers, data analysts, data organizations, how they work together to have a governed, cost-optimized, standardized, cross-platform, secure, and AI-driven ecosystem. It all comes together on dbt, built for more data personas and built for scale. Whether you're a practitioner building and deploying data pipelines for analytics and AI apps, or if you're a data analyst publishing and disseminating your institutional knowledge, or if you're a data team leader concerned with staying within budget for your team, you will find something in this launch showcase that empowers your work in this new era of analytics. Let's get to the product announcements.
Our analytics teams who do the reporting sit outside of our area, and they were asking to also come onto Snowflake and dbt.
It was really about just making sure that we were fit to be able to scale in a way that allows still self-serve but governance at the same time.
It's helped a lot to build trust between us and the data users, being able to point to the data catalog and say, here, this is how it's defined. So they're able to kind of go in and validate things just in the catalog itself, which is awesome.
I think the biggest unlock was accessibility. So dbt as a tool is very easy to configure and very easy to access. So you don't need to be an expert in SQL, or you don't need to be an expert in all the technical terminologies around data. It's very easy to onboard someone to dbt.
So now the business teams can build their own data pipelines and gain like a lot of speed and ownership over their own data.
We're starting using DBT to help resolve some of the challenges in terms of scalability, trust issues, latency issues. And then since we implement DBT, the business users are happy, the technical teams are happy, everybody's happy.
Hey folks, I'm Patrick Barch, Principal PM here at DBT Labs, and I'm excited to talk about how we're building the next generation of self-service analytics. As the quantity of data has exploded and as leveraging AI has become mandatory, the need for trustworthy and accessible data is more critical than ever. Now, DBT was founded to solve a fundamental problem. Companies are all recognizing that data is critical to their success, and cloud data platforms are evolving fast to keep up. But building with data had been reserved for a select few on the IT team. We saw a better way. We brought software engineering best practices to data teams using SQL, a language they already understood. We sparked a movement and a new role, analytics engineering, which today is backed by a community of over 100,000 members. Now, you heard Tristan talk about our new Fusion engine and tease all of the great benefits our developer community is going to see. But data is a team sport, and you have more than just developers operating in your data ecosystem. And a key part of that team, your analysts, are becoming increasingly demanding. Your analysts, the people closest to the business, are under pressure to do more with less, and they're pressuring you to move faster. Any delays or technical barriers or processes they don't like force them into workarounds. And they use a patchwork of ungoverned tooling to create a no-rules field of nightmares, where invisible data operating in the shadows opens your business up to data security risk, duplicated effort, and cost overruns. The organizations pulling ahead are the ones that empower more people to build, explore, and act on trusted data, but without sacrificing standards. That's why today we're expanding what DBT can do, not just for developers and engineers, but for every analyst. Now it starts with building. Last year at Coalesce, we previewed a visual interface that lets analysts describe what they want to build, while DBT handles the SQL and documentation. It's low code, it's drag and drop, it's powered by DBT Copilot, and under the hood, it creates the same tested, version-controlled, and governed code that your teams already know and trust. It's called DBT Canvas. And today, I'm excited to announce that Canvas is now generally available. Analysts can now prototype visually, collaborate with engineering teams in a form factor that makes sense to them, and deliver reliable analytics, all in DBT. But that's just the beginning. To fully empower analysts, we need to remove the friction between curiosity and action. Not every analysis requires building out a new table or model. Sometimes you just need to answer that one quick question. To support analysts, we need to make trusted, governed data easier to find, understand, and use. That's why we're introducing new product experiences purpose-built for data analysts. DBT Insights is an AI-powered workspace for analyzing data built directly into DBT. It allows analysts to generate insights by asking questions in SQL or natural language. They can generate lightweight visualizations, validate models, and share their analyses. All in one flow, all with DBT's lineage, governance, and standards out of the box. And our data catalog's getting a glow up too. DBT Explorer is now DBT Catalog to reflect that we're expanding beyond DBT to support broader data discovery. We know analysts don't just rely on DBT-built data, so we're empowering teams to explore their Snowflake assets inside of DBT in one integrated, searchable catalog that they can use to get to work right away. No tab switching, no guesswork. I'm excited to say that both of these new experiences are available in preview in your DBT Cloud account right now. Self-service analytics has been a North Star for years, but previous solutions have struggled to thread the needle between governance and speed. With these launches, we're bringing self-service to life.
more users, same trusted standards, and a streamlined path from question to decision. Now, as you heard from James earlier, data in the ADLC is a team sport. And that's why we're so excited to extend the power of DBT to more players. We're going to have a little fun today with a sports analogy, baseball theme, and we're going to show you how we're helping analysts get off the bench and into the game. Now, as I go through the demo, some of our longer running community members might recognize a few projects from announcements past, so keep your eyes out. And for this demo, this story, I am the new data analyst for a baseball team, and we're not doing very well. My management, my bosses are fighting about who's to blame. They want to know how much we're spending on pitching this year and how that compares to years past. So I'm going to show you how DBT empowers me as an analyst to find and understand data, build trust that it's the right data, analyze it, and develop new models for my team, like getting to the bottom of whether this year's pitching is actually the problem. Now let's see how it looks. My first question as a new analyst is, who even are the pitchers on this roster? So I jump into catalog. From here, I can browse through my DBT and Snowflake assets. I can jump into something I've recently viewed, or I can execute a keyword search. Now, where most data catalogs fall short is they give you a bunch of search results that all kind of look and feel and sound the same, and you're left wondering where to start. Because this is embedded into DBT, and my team already works in DBT, I can trust that this one is probably where I should start. From the details page, I can view familiar trust signals like freshness, the status of the last run, and the results of any tests, or in this case, that none have been configured. I can check out lineage, I can check out the description, ownership information, and the column details. So, yep, this looks like roster data, but as an analyst, I don't always trust that data is right until I get my hands on it. So in just a few clicks, I can open this up in DBT Insights, run a query, and sure enough, this looks like the roster of the team. Just needs salary data. But I actually skipped the training camp course on SQL this year, and so I'm going to call in Copilot for some assistance. On Copilot, can you calculate the amount I've spent on pitching over the last 5 years by year? Great. Copilot's going to give me a SQL statement. I can run it, and now I'll view the results. And what Copilot actually did here was, it looks like it found a separate analysis that somebody had already built, and it's suggesting I use that so I don't have to waste time and money building something new. Now from the results pane, I can also add a chart. But oh, it looks like this year field has actually been loaded as a number instead of a date. And so I'm going to ask Copilot to change this to be a date instead. Copilot's going to give me a new SQL statement that I can run. And before, this would have required me creating a ticket with my engineering team, but with Copilot, with DBT, I can do this all on my own. Now I can go in and configure my chart. Great. I can download my chart. I can change the settings of my chart. But if I think I'm going to run this analysis again and again and again, I'm actually going to create a bookmark. And so I'll give my bookmark a title. I will generate a description because I don't want to type this out. Great, now my bookmark's been created. From here, I can review my list of recently run queries. I can confirm the details of that bookmark that I just created, as well as view the version history, or I can share it. Now with this link copied to the clipboard, I can share it amongst my team, and when they click on it, they'll land directly in this experience where if they have access to the data, they'll be able to run the analysis and view the exact same results as I do. Now, if I want to jump back into this again, I can start on the Insights homepage, where I can either ask a question in natural language, I can create a new analysis with a popular asset, review my recently run queries, or my bookmarks. Now, no sooner have I sent this to my boss that now they want something new. Apparently, we're now looking at cost per strikeout as a key measure of success. And so we need to start looking at cost per strikeout on an ongoing basis. But I don't want to create something brand new from scratch. I want to start with something I've already done. So with just a few clicks, I can take all of that context I've already built and bring it into DBT Canvas. Now from here, I'm going to add a new input because I'm going to look for strikeout data to join with my salary data. And I'm going to look for data sets with columns called strikeout. Okay, I'm going to review the field. Looks good. I'm going to get rid of all of the non-pitching related stats. Okay, I'm going to add a join. And I'm going to do a join on the player ID and the year. Oops. Need to join on the player ID and the year. Great. Now, as I go, I can preview what the results of this query will look like on the fly. This data looks good. I've confirmed the join is working, but it looks like a few fields are in here twice. And so I'm going to go in and clean some of that up. Okay. I'm going to leave the date conversion, but I'm actually going to get rid of the rest of these operators because I don't need them for this analysis. Oh, shoot, I just got pinged by my boss again. There's a new analysis that we have to do. Copilot, can you help make this thing go faster? I pull up Copilot and I ask it to help me calculate the cost per strikeout with this data. And Copilot's going to think. And there we go. It's going to generate a set of operators. I can compare what it generated to what I've already got, and I can choose to accept it. Now I go over to the output, give myself some more room here, and I can preview the results. So I'm actually going to give myself a little more real estate. And now I see that I've got my salary data joined with all of my pitching performance data. Excellent. But this is a big table. I want to clean this thing up and make it a little easier to read. And so with a few clicks or more, I'm going to remove all of the superfluous columns. And when I am done, I am going to be left with just the data I need. Great. And it's a very clean set of my pitchers, how much we're paying them, the inning strikeouts, and the cost per strikeout. Now, as I'm going through this, because this is powered by DBT, under the hood, this is generating SQL on my behalf. And I can see the SQL that it's generating for me. The SQL can be audited, it can be version controlled, just like any other DBT SQL. And so if I'm comfortable operating multiple modalities, I can do that. Now I'm going to execute a DBT run so that I can build this in my local development environment. When I'm ready, I can add a comment for my first commit. It's version 1 of my cost per strikeout analysis. I can add that commit, which will give me the option to create a pull request. From here, I can jump straight into GitHub. I can click the create pull request button, which will kick off the workflow that my engineering team has configured on my behalf. Okay, so now as an analyst, I've discovered some data, I've run an analysis, I've built a new model, I've submitted that new model for approval. Now, what's next? Now, I've been on the job for a while, and I actually remember before I was using this pitcher salary data, I actually think I have a better way to do this analysis. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back into catalog, I'm going to find this model, and I'm going to open it in edit mode in Canvas. From here, I get a visual representation of how this model is built in a form that I can understand as somebody slightly less technical, and I can make suggestions for how we can improve this analysis through this visual experience. Now, this is a simple example. You can imagine this thing could get pretty complicated if it's a big model. And so maybe Copilot can help me understand what this SQL is doing. There you go. Copilot is going to give me a very nice text-based summary of all of the operations taking place to build this model so that I can understand what's going on and potentially share it with other people on the team. So to recap, as an analyst, I've just found and used some new data to answer a quick question from my boss, and I created a repeatable analysis out of it. I built a new model using that analysis. And this model can be scheduled, run, and managed just like any other DBT model. I've done this using tools that match my skill set, assisted by AI, all within DBT, and without having to switch contexts in ToolHop. Together, these capabilities lower the barrier to govern data, giving analysts the tools to explore, build, and share insights, all within a streamlined, governed environment. And to make this more accessible, we have created a flexible new seat type to more easily bring all of your analysts into dbt with full platform access that's built for scale. Now, if you want to go deeper, join us for a live webinar in late June, where we'll show how leading teams are putting these new tools into action. And if you can't wait, we dropped a podcast on the DBT Labs YouTube channel where our own internal data analysts talk about all of the fun things they've been doing and building with these new tools. Thanks for tuning in. We're excited to see what you build next.
Our challenge is always to understand where is data, what is a trustful data, where is good data quality. With DBT Mesh, it is now much easier for us to really see, okay, what is trustful data product where we have proper quality with tests running, with jobs running.
So the infrastructure we were using before, in terms of cost, it was very hard to manage and scale. And in DBT, we were able to reduce the cost, the operating cost, and the compute cost by 90%. We're running the transformation more frequently, but we are paying 90% less cost compared to when we were only loading the data once a day.
We've been able to surface unused parts of our DBT DAG and estimate the cost saving potential of that so that we can both, reduce complexity, reduce the redundancy, but also save costs in that way.
We've been able to take a lot of the metadata from systems and bring that into DBT and be able to model that so that we can see it in like an easy way, because a lot of the metadata that you run around your warehouse is in different places. And so being able to bring it in one place and be able to see how that's modeled out helps us to understand where our costs are, how much things cost, how quick things are running, the type of compute that's being used, and those types of things. So it really centralizes a lot of the external systems and the data from those systems into one place so that we can easily see inside of either like a data model or even a dashboard downstream.
Thanks, Patrick. I'm excited to see how analysts can take advantage of DBT in their workflows. I'm Neha Heisted, Product Manager at DBT Labs, and I'm going to show you today how DBT is enabling organizations to play faster, waste less, and win more. Organizations need a game plan that unlocks analyst potential while protecting data investments and the ability to unleash productivity without losing control of the playbook. That's where DBT steps in as your championship toolkit, bringing optimization and efficiency into the game. With smart cost tracking, seamless roster management, and adaptable platforms, organizations can scale with confidence. Think of it as both offense and defense. You're not just preventing chaos, you're positioning your team to dominate the analytics game. Today, we're going to talk about 3 ways DBT helps organizations build and maintain all-star data teams with platform flexibility, user management, and cost optimization. The first tool in our championship toolkit is platform flexibility. Organizations need the ability to optimize how to deploy DBT and more efficiently build data products, regardless of organizational silos. Let's start by looking back at 2 different recent eras. The first is the tool sprawl era, with dozens of tools, with data pipelines spread across multiple vendors and analytics logic duplicated across those tools, leading to a tight coupling between tools and workflows and no common control plane. With organizations locked in, the switching costs were extremely high and resulted in difficult to scale and fragile workflows. That brings us to the SQL standardization era, where analytics are consolidated in DBT and SQL, and centralized transformation logic leads to scalable and maintainable workflows. But that comes at a cost. Organizations are now locked into their cloud provider and their cloud data platform. Data workflows are easier to manage, but there is limited mobility and control over cost. That's why DBT meets customers where they are today. Over half of DBT customers are working across multiple data platforms, and 81% of enterprises use more than one cloud provider. With native hosting, organizations now have the ability to use DBT on their cloud provider of choice, AWS, Azure, and now GCP. Teams can run DBT close to their data without compromising governance, security, or latency, and make purchases from the marketplaces of their choice. And finally, organizations will have flexibility across compute engines, with support for Iceberg Write catalog integrations for select adapters, with more to come. You can learn more about what we support today and what's coming next in our docs. This isn't just about checking boxes, it's about giving teams choice without penalty. You can move at your own pace, use the best fit platform, and still take advantage of dbt's semantic layer and developer experience. That's the kind of flexibility that empowers teams to own their future. This quote from Ulrich at Vestas gets right to the heart of platform flexibility. When you separate storage from compute and analytics from infrastructure, you eradicate the silos that keep teams stuck. Ulrich's team uses dbt to create a common foundation across a diverse data stack. That's not just about tools, it's about empowering people across the business to collaborate, no matter what's under the hood. That's how dbt empowers organizations to make analytics a team sport, by making sure that the underlying platform doesn't get in the way. Now, when analytics becomes that team sport, dbt helps streamline how users get access to dbt quickly and securely with better user management. At companies like Siemens, hundreds of people are in the dbt platform every month. Developers, analysts, domain experts, but enabling that kind of scale has a catch. Managing user access becomes a huge operational drag. Without Skim, admins are stuck manually adding and removing users, and that's not just tedious, it creates bottlenecks, permission risks, and delays in getting people the access they need. Skim is a game changer for organizations. It's a secure open standard that connects your identity provider to dbt to programmatically handle user access. The result is that admins get their time back, governance becomes cleaner, and most importantly, teams are empowered to start contributing faster. And that's how you support analytics as a team sport, by making it easier to get people in the game safely and at scale. We've talked about how platform flexibility and programmatic user management can help you make analytics a team sport, but it's also important to consider the resources and the cost involved with that. Deploying your resources efficiently can elevate your entire organization and ensure you're making the most of your investment in data. Cost management remains one of the biggest challenges that organizations face. A recent Gartner study shows that 50% of organizations cite it as a major problem. We like to think of cost management as a complete practice with three main parts. The first is cost monitoring, which is about tracking what you spend. dbt's new cost dashboard gives teams visibility into where costs are incurred and why. Cost avoidance helps prevent waste before it happens, with features like the new Fusion-powered state-aware orchestration. Only run models when there is new data available, avoiding unnecessarily refreshing the model in the first place. And lastly, remediation allows you to easily solve opportunities for cost reduction. With seamless workflows in dbt, quickly find and fix opportunities for running your models more efficiently without having to navigate anywhere else. Our own head of data, Alex, makes clear the challenge for data practitioners today. It's distracting from the real work of providing high-quality analytics to go chase down and react to spikes in cost. And that's why we're delighted to introduce a cost management solution directly built into the dbt control plane, currently in preview. Our data team has been using the new cost management dashboard in production over the last couple months, so let's go ahead and see it in action. This is the actual dashboard that our team has been using over the last couple months. Let's take a look at the overview, where I can see the trend of dbt execution cost across all our projects over the last 30 days and compare it to the previous period. We can see overall that there have been some improvements, so let's dive deeper. I can compare this cost with the rest of my warehouse spend in this period, and that helps me understand how much I'm spending on dbt execution as a category of my total spend. And that brings me to the savings that standardizing on dbt can drive. Our data team has very recently started using cost avoidance functionality powered by Fusion, like state-aware orchestration, and so the realized savings from that work haven't hit this dashboard just yet. But participants in our recent beta program reported around 10% savings from state-aware orchestration alone, and we're expecting similar results. So that's at least $1,200 on our spend of $12K over the last 30 days, right back in our pockets, simply by using the new Fusion engine. Stay tuned for a demo from Elias to see it in action in just a bit. And that metric doesn't even include tracking remediation changes, like updating a model's materialization. The new cost management dashboard will be the single pane of glass that we'll use to continue to monitor, optimize, and celebrate these cost savings. Now that I have a sense of overall execution cost, I can see how that cost compares across projects. And for our team, it's our main internal analytics project. And once I have that overview, I can dive deeper into this project. And this is really where our data team has been spending their time. I can look at cost by resource, seeing that models are the resource type driving the most cost, and that makes sense. Models are the key deliverable for this project. I'd be more concerned if tests were a large percent of the spend, and we can actually see here that the DBT data team has refactored and optimized tests recently, resulting in some cost savings. We can also look at costs by environment type, and as expected, the production environment is the bulk of our costs here, but there may be some opportunities for optimization in other environments, like our CI environment. Our team has been on the lookout for models to optimize, and that means balancing the cost to run these models with how much they're being used or queried. We can easily sort this table to find some good candidate models. And our data team hit a home run with the fact support max entitlements model. So I'll use that as an example. We can see here there's been a huge decrease, over 1K in the last 30 days for this model's execution cost. We can then drill into this model to see what might have been driving that cost and how much the model is being used to better understand why the data team chose this model to optimize. I can drill into the lineage and use the lineage lenses to understand cumulative cost and see if an upstream model is driving cost, or look at the consumption history to see if there is a model that appears to have low usage, but is actually feeding a model that's being actively queried downstream, which is the case here. I can also start to look at the trends for cost, executions, and consumption queries over the last 30 days to validate whether this model is a good candidate for optimization. From here, I can jump from this initial finding to further investigate by opening this model in catalog. And if I'm ready to make changes to the materialization or the refresh strategy, I can easily do that by opening up this model in the Studio IDE and getting started with development. This is how cost management in DBT can reduce operational overhead on teams so that they can focus on delivering value to the organization. Brandon, one of our analytics engineers, used this cost dashboard to find a model that was taking 14 plus minutes to run. He optimized it by changing the materialization, and that single change will save us over $10,000 a year. When you give your team visibility and ownership, they don't just analyze the business, they improve it. We're already seeing cost monitoring driving efficiency internally, with even more to come with cost avoidance and remediation features. The Snowflake Cost Monitoring Dashboard is in preview today. If you're interested in learning more, we're sharing the documentation link in the chat panel now, and you can also contact your account team if you're a current customer. To recap, DBT is empowering organizations with platform flexibility, streamlined user management, and cost optimization capabilities. Break down organizational silos with platform flexibility, including upcoming support for catalog integrations and the ability to run DBT on GCP. You can find DBT on the Google Marketplace starting in June. You can manage your organization's access to DBT with Skim, available now for Okta and coming soon for additional identity providers. And last but not least, something required by anyone using DBT. Make the most of your organization's investment in data with the cost management dashboard, now in preview. We can't wait to see what you optimize.
DBT allowed me to move from a SQL slinger to someone who is familiar with version control, and it opened the door to the world of software engineering. So it really helped me to broaden my skill set.
DBT is great, helping really our developers to be more efficient, be better, and also to better share things with each other.
The data velocity has just skyrocketed because we've broken it into usable parts. So the whole sort of DBT philosophy around only doing something once and making it reusable.
The biggest value of DBT that I see for the company is the way that it takes analytics and turns it into a more resilient data product. So it's not just a query that someone is running on the side, but it's treated with the same care that any software product would be.
Are people losing trust over the data? Do you have sleepless night to fix issues and spend hours to figure out what is actually happening? If the answer is yes, then DBT is the solution.
Hello, folks. My name is Elias. I was one of the co-founders of SDF. There, I led product. Now, after the acquisition in January, I work in product at DBT. And I am very excited to be here. Wow, it's been a long time coming, and I'm so excited to share what we've built today and the integration between SDF and DBT. You could even call it the fusion of those two companies. Jokes aside, I want to echo what Tristan said early on, which was just how amazing and inspiring it's been to see these two teams come together over the last 5 months. So to all the engineers out there, the SDF and DBT engineers that have come together, met each other just in January, and 5 months later produced something amazing. This is to you. You all have done amazing work. And let's get going. So we're going to talk about empowering developers. We're going to talk about the better than ever developer experience in DBT, powered by the new engine that we're launching, which you might have heard of. But first, we're going to talk about this archetype, the developer, where they fit into the whole analytics infrastructure stack of people at a company. Let's start with a simple truth, which is that analytics is a team sport. In order to scale and actually serve data needs at an organization, it's a team sport. It requires a lot of different players. We met some of those new players that are going to enter the DBT ecosystem today. Patrick and Neha talked about folks like the analysts, business stakeholders that can now get involved with DBT. This is very exciting. But I will say that every innovation we're announcing today, the stuff that's enabling analysts like DBT Canvas or Insights, right? The cost management tools, all of it starts with developers building trusted, scalable data products. The core transformation logic, this stuff, this is the foundations that are laid to then let the business use the data downstream. I have a lot of empathy for these people, developers. Many of you probably out there watching. I started my career as an engineer and a developer, and I built many DBT projects. So I've been there, I've been in that role. It's a lot of pressure, and I'm here to say that with what we're building here, it's going to get easier. It's going to get more fun, I think. So let's talk about the tool that many of you probably use today, DBT Core. The reason why we're here, the reason that I'm here presenting to you right now. DBT Core introduced software best practices to analytics workflows. This was a big deal. And in doing that, it created a new standard for data transformation. That was almost 10 years ago, right? That was back in 2016. And since then, the world has changed quite a bit, particularly the data industry. AI is a thing now. In case you didn't know, in case you're not on LinkedIn, AI is a thing, and it's really important. And all the data work we do, it serves that in large part for many companies, for many organizations. Compute, that's changed a lot too. That's getting to look more and more like a commodity, right? We've got open standards like Iceberg growing in adoption, compute getting more affordable, being separated from storage. A lot has changed. And that's all to say that some of the ideas that DBT introduced in 2016 that were revolutionary back then, like leaning on SQL to build modular code, version controlling, documenting that code, those are now par for the course, I would say. Here we are in 2025. So we have two things that have happened. The data has become more important, and many of the features DBT introduced almost 10 years ago are now par for the course in tooling. And that's this sort of landscape is a large reason that I helped found my previous company, SDF Labs. And it's a big reason that DBT acquired us. It is time for a next generation developer experience to meet the moment in the data industry's evolution. So what does that developer experience look like? Well, I think it means developers can move faster with a faster feedback loop that doesn't require them to go run something up against the warehouse to see if it's correct or not, right? I think it keeps them in their flow in a sense, right? It helps them work with AI tooling to help Copilot, right? It helps them vibe code, as they say, another term there. It also meets them in their preferred environments, right? So maybe I don't want to use a cloud-based GUI to do my authoring because I'm more technical and I like to get in the weeds in Visual Studio Code, for example. Well, I'm excited to say that the new engine that we've built addresses all these concerns. And it's called the dbt Fusion Engine. And it is really, really cool. And I am so excited to demo it and to show you it today. So it's lightning fast. It's built entirely from the ground up in Rust. And I mean entirely. Yes, in 5 months, we built the whole thing up in Rust, including the adapters too. We built those now leveraging ADBC, which is really cool stuff. DBT is now participating in the Arrow ecosystem. And if you know what that means, you know it's really cool. And if you don't know what that means, just know it'll make your systems faster and it'll make your workflows faster. I think all this rebuild, the next generation engine here, this is not an incremental change or a small improvement to the DBT you know and love. It's a major leap. This is a step function change in the developer experience and in the intelligence of the DBT platform. And I'm so excited to announce we are making it available today in public beta for the first time. So kudos to you for watching this in live, if you are, because it's a cool moment. So what does this new engine introduce? Well, I think there are 3 primitives or capabilities I really want to emphasize and talk about. The first of which is blazingly fast performance. It's really, really fast. It's 30 times faster to parse your DBT project, and everything depends on parse. You got to parse the project before you can do any functionality. So everything becomes snappier. But the speed serves more of a purpose than just that. It's actually necessary to power what we call an interactive developer experience. So this means that the minute I'm typing the code, I get feedback on what I'm typing. The minute I save the file, I know if the code is correct or not. Those are only possible if the engine checking that code and validating, parsing, compiling it is really speedy. The next component, primitive, is deep SQL comprehension. So baked into the DBT Fusion engine is a SQL compiler that natively understands dialects like Snowflake, Redshift, BigQuery, Databricks, right? And enables you to validate the code all locally and understand if that code will compile before running it remote. It also produces really rich metadata like column of a lineage and an understanding of transformations and how they're applied in each stage of the DAG. The last primitive here is state awareness. In DBT Cloud now, the jobs and the orchestrator will now understand the model and source freshness while it's running the job. It'll know the last time the data was updated and the last time the code was updated that contributes to that model. And it won't rerun a model if it doesn't need to, right? If that model is depending on data that's not new, why rerun it? So this is very powerful. This powers some fantastic cost savings. So these 3 primitives power all of the new experiences that I'm going to show you today. And I'm excited to say it impacts every surface of DBT and every archetype that we talked about today that Patrick and Neha mentioned. So starting on the left, on my left, might be your right. I think it's my left. I think it's your left too. The VS Code extension, right, is going out, powered by Fusion, meeting technical developers where they are. The Studio IDE also meeting analytics engineers right where they are with the Fusion engine. But even our visual editor Canvas and DBT Insights will benefit and be powered by Fusion. And so this is just to say this impacts all surface areas where people interface with DBT. So screenshots like this are cool. They're very cool. But you know what's cooler? Live demos. Okay, I've got here my VS Code window. Let me make it a little larger. Cool. Okay. And I have a DBT project here in VS Code called DBT Dugout. And this is the same project that Patrick was using. So if you imagine Patrick is the GM, I am the technical analyst behind the scenes, analyzing our players and producing valuable data for Patrick to make decisions on. Cool. You're welcome, Patrick. I've got a model open here called Staging Players. I'm going to move myself down. So Staging Players, cool model. Where does it fit in the lineage? Great. I have my lineage, visualization, table of a lineage right there. I can also preview the query results, as you'd expect. Awesome. So I've got some players, player IDs, things like that. But if all of you were with us for the DBT Developer Day, you probably saw me in an F1 racing outfit demo the same things. But what you didn't see is me open up the command palette here, look up column of a lineage, and then check out the column lineage right there in VS Code, visualized. And even deeper than just the column lineage, we can see what happens to that column as it flows downstream. So we can see these are pass-throughs indicating they're just copies of the column, no modification, no transformation applied. So we have rich column lineage available in VS Code right there while you're developing. Super cool. But you all have probably seen things like this out there. You've seen stuff, you're like, okay, pretty cool, but show me something cooler, Elias. And to that I say, all right, skeptical audience member, let's dive in. So we'll open a model here called Pitcher Salary Analysis. And Pitcher Salary Analysis has a bunch of chain CTEs. All of you are probably used to seeing models like this. There's one in particular, salary data, that I want to select from and create a new CTE that just takes the yearly average salaries of our pitchers. Okay, so let's make that CTE, yearly average salary. The minute I type as, you'll see we have contextual SQL recommendations right there in line. Pretty cool. So I'll do a select star from salary data. Nice. But the real magic happens the minute I save the file. And that's when the compilation runs and we get that instant feedback. Yes, we're showing 2 error outputs. That's okay. Quick bug. We'll fix it soon. But yes, we get instant feedback about our model without running that query up against the warehouse. So we know here it says mismatched input pitcher details. And we did this without running this up against Snowflake, without incurring a compute cost. So you as a developer just save money and move faster, right? And some of you smart SQL aficionados out there see that we're missing a comma on line 23. I'll make that change. Cool. We're back in a good state. Great. But I wanted to make a transformation on salary data. So I can hover over this and see the column schema I'm selecting from upstream. The year column is a number. The salary is a number. Great. I'm going to take those two. So I'll select the year column. And I will select the average. But the minute I type AV, you see, again, contextual function autocomplete, which is dialect specific and pulls the documentation from the dialects, actually the warehouse. So this is from Snowflake, which is pretty cool. So I'll type average here, and I'll type the salary column. That's what we're looking for as average salary. Great. I save this file, and oh, I've got one more issue. The engine understands which functions are considered aggregations. Average is an aggregation. And when I do actually make this projection here of year, it's present now. The year column is present in an aggregation context, meaning I'm missing a group by. Now, what I really love about this is not just that we have rich error feedback, right? But actually that it can also enhance my AI Copilot workflows. So if I go here and I actually enable GitHub Copilot, right? And I remember this error output is being fed as context into the model. When I press new line here, its recommendation is perfect. It's exactly right. And it's taking this error context and suggesting a change, which means my workflow is as simple as tab, save the file, and we're in a good state. It's kind of magic. You can ask AI to generate code for you, and we can validate it rapidly. Because AI in its code gen is bottlenecked by the same things that we are as developers. We produce the code and then we have to go run it. So does AI. So maybe you don't trust the compilation, right? Maybe you want to see what the data looks like right here at this CTE. So I know many of you today probably go down and maybe comment out the rest of this file and just select from the CTE, or just select from the CTE right here and figure out another way to do it, maybe a semicolon at the end. No more hacky things around that. Now you can just press preview CTE and you can see exactly what that CTE produces, the data. Cool. And even more so, this understands the in CTE lineage. So this one ran the salary data CTE first because it knew that this was dependent on that, but it didn't run pitcher totals because it knew that was irrelevant to the result set that the CTE produces. I love this feature. I think this feature is really cool. I would have used this a lot when I was developing. So very excited about that one. Let's move on. The nice thing about compilation, though, is that it doesn't just operate on one file. It's constantly considering your entire project's context. This means that if I introduce a breaking change to staging players, like I rename, and you can see staging players has a lot of downstream dependencies. If I rename player ID to P_ID, the minute I save the file, all models downstream that break because of that change turn red. So that's a real-time impact analysis as I make the change. No more making the change than having to run all downstream models, or even worse, pushing it up to CI only to realize, oh, I changed the data type and this downstream model 3 layers deep depends on it. No, that whole feedback loop is as quick as just saving the file. And this is the power of having a compiler that understands the full project context and treats it that way. And the same thing actually works for macros. So if I fix that issue and I go over to fact player salaries, you can see I'm using a custom macro here that I define called picture check. If we want to see the SQL that this produces, we can do a really nice kind of before after thing and place them side by side. And when I highlight the macro, it highlights the SQL that macro produces. And this even works for refs too. So if I go up here to this ref, I can see the fully qualified name that this ref resolves to. Pretty cool. If I update this ref, maybe I'm selecting from, what is it, staging game stats instead. The minute that I save the file, I see the fully qualified name update. Really, really cool. But like I mentioned earlier, that real-time impact analysis is not just at the model level, it's also at the macro level. So if I go to this macro, picture check, which I can do by just hovering command click and go to it, right? And I introduce a breaking change here, like I spell this true with 3 E's. The minute I save this file, I see fact player salaries is now breaking. And it shows me right on that macro line, the SQL error that this produces because of that change. Pretty cool. We go back to picture check, correct that issue, and we're back in a good state. There's also automatic refactoring that we can power. Because we understand all the rich dependencies and all of that, the minute let's say we're analyzing one team here, not a lot of teams, so I'm going to rename staging teams to just team. I can see here now the extension is prompting me, I want to refactor changes on your behalf. And I go, okay, extension sounds good. But I want to see what you want to do first. So I show the preview of the changes. And it now tells me exactly the changes it wants to make because I renamed that file. So this is a very, very powerful feature as well. Lots of cool stuff shown here. But it's worth calling out that all of this is powered by the new engine, which actually is running here on my machine. And I can invoke it with dbt. Even the help output is faster, if you noticed. So if I do a dbt parse, cool. Oh, that's an issue. That's right, because I renamed that and I didn't actually apply my change. So yes, even when I parse the project, it catches those things too. So I'm gonna go ahead and rename this back to there. And parse again, we're back in a good state. So see that even in the CLI, my feedback loop is super quick. I can do a dbt compile. Nice, also super, super speedy. I can also do a dbt run. Okay, great. So run's taking a little bit longer. Well, you know what? We can't speed up the database that's executing those models. We can do actually some SQL optimization, but one day. So we're running these models in order, as you'd expect. Super cool, great. The new engine works and actually runs models remotely against the warehouse. Great. And you all know, just like I do, that these models are now up to date, right? And unless we're dealing with streaming data, which in this case I can tell you we're not, these models now don't need to rerun effectively, right? Because their data is no longer fresh that they're selecting from. The sources have not been updated. If I were to rerun this locally, I would just rerun all these models. And that's why that would happen. And there would be no consideration of the fact that there's no new data. But if I run this up in dbt Cloud, we're going to see a different result. We're in dbt Cloud now. And I've got a job that's running a dbt build, just like I was doing while I was doing a run locally, but effectively the same thing. Great. Just without the test. If I run this job up here, you'll notice something here. I just want to go remind you that it took about 20 seconds to run the whole job locally, to run everything. But here, it only takes 5. Why is that? Well, it's because this is our state-aware orchestration at work. It realized that there's no new source data for these models, and therefore it doesn't need to rerun them. And so instead of running here, we see reusing in the log output. And even better, every time we reuse a model, we will attribute the savings from not running that model to the cost management dashboard that Neha showed earlier. So you'll be able to see a constant visualization of your savings based on this state-aware orchestration. Super, super powerful, super cool. And this can even get more granular. So let's say I go over to Snowsight and I actually add a new row here. Great, I added a row to the raw players source. Well, if I go and rerun this job one more time, you'll see something a little bit different happens. We don't reuse every model. we will reuse a subset. One of my favorite parts about this, while this is kind of doing this thing, is that I just have to run build, right? I don't have to configure anything crazy or run any specific flags or configurations. It just kind of works. The state system just does its thing and understands the freshness and the code state while you're running it. As I continue to stall while this job completes. We love live demos. Come on. I wish I had a good joke for this moment. I don't have any good jokes that I can think of right now. Great. Our build finished before I could come up with a bad joke. And there we go. You can see we granularly reuse three, excuse me, that don't depend on the raw player's source. And we run and test the rest of the models that depend on the raw player's source. So this is really, really cool. All of these savings, every time we prevent running a model because it was unnecessary, will be shown in the cost management dashboard. I'm so excited about this feature. I think it's huge. We've shown some amazing demos. And let's just summarize what we saw. So we saw the new dbt Fusion engine in action, now in public beta for eligible projects on Snowflake. So that's critical. We are rolling out other platforms very, very soon, but we're starting today with Snowflake. Cool. What does this encompass? Orders of magnitude faster developer experience. I hope my demo of the VS Code extension was enough to sort of prove that. I think it is. We have optimized warehouse costs, right? We're avoiding unnecessary model runs and attributing those cost savings to our new cost management features that Neha showed. And coming later this year, to a coalesce near you, we will improve data governance. And a quick 5 seconds on this. We can track PII, PHI sensitive data with data classifiers, and we can propagate those classifiers based on our understanding of column lineage and flexibly reclassify them when we understand their transformations change the values, right? So if I have PII in an email column and I count the emails, the count of emails is no longer PII. That's just a number. That's just an aggregated a number of emails. And we can reclassify PII at that stage in the DAG. So very, very cool stuff coming from the governance standpoint. I'm excited to share more later. But today, the thing you can download right now is the VS Code extension, and I would encourage you to do so. It's in public beta. I love this thing. I love this thing so much, and I want everyone to use it and give us feedback. So please do that. You can look up DBT in the extensions, the Visual Studio Code extensions marketplace, and give it a try. Cool. Public beta. All right. Worth emphasizing that. State-of-the-art orchestration and any intelligent cost savings associated with that. Also now in public beta for customers in the dbt Fusion engine. Our early estimates indicate 10% cost savings with the features that are launching today. And we have a path to increasing those cost savings even further with more advanced features. So super, super excited about this. And we've even had some folks try it in private beta. Bruno, who's been a longtime dbt user, says the Fusion engine with VS Code extension is how folks will want to develop with dbt moving forward. This is awesome. It's the experience we've all been waiting for. I feel the same way, Bruno. I have also been waiting for this experience, and I think it's awesome too. And with that, I am very, very excited to pass the baton back to Tristan to talk about where Fusion fits into dbt's future. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Elias. We got Fusion up and running internally, and so far our compile time is in fact down about 30x. We've also saved over 15% on our compute bill, a number that my CFO, Sarah, is pretty happy with. And we expect this number to go up over time. But most importantly for me, it is just freaking awesome to use. I've been writing dbt code for a long time, and this is by far the best dbt developer experience I have ever had. But I want to close this out by answering some very important questions for Fusion. Questions like, who gets it? How? And under what license? The first thing I want to share and be super, super clear. dbt Core and the dbt Fusion engine are two totally separate code bases with zero shared tech. dbt Core is and will continue to be licensed under Apache 2, and we will continue to support it indefinitely. If you'd like to stay on it, there is nothing preventing you from doing that, and we will continue to support you. But as of today, the dbt Fusion engine is the future of dbt. Everything that you could do in Core, you can or will soon be able to do in Fusion, and a lot more. Next, the dbt Fusion engine contains a mix of source available, proprietary, and open source code. Now, I'm not going to go into all the technical components of Fusion and their licenses right this second, but we've got a link that we're going to share with you that does exactly that, and we'll follow up after the event. We're releasing the single most important component, what we call the runtime, under the Elastic license. It's a source available license. If you're a data team that uses dbt Core today, nothing about the Elastic license prevents you from upgrading to Fusion and using it just like you use Core today. You don't need to pay us anything. You don't need to give us your contact information. You don't need to speak with anybody. You can run it locally, and you can see and contribute to the source code. What you cannot do is to directly compete with dbt Labs by hosting a managed service powered by Fusion. While we're not changing the license of any existing code, I do want to acknowledge that this is an evolution of our open source strategy. dbt Core was originally built by data practitioners for data practitioners. There's a reason it caught fire. The workflow it enabled resonated deeply with the folks doing data work every day. And the Apache 2 license made it easy to adopt and to become a standard, back when dbt Labs was half a dozen people and a point of view. But dbt Core was built in 2016 and could never have imagined the needs of 2025. Translating between SQL dialects with complete fidelity, local execution, compilation times that are suitable for conversational AI experiences, and more. These needs just weren't present in 2016, and they aren't things the original codebase can be extended to handle. I am incredibly proud of what we all collectively have accomplished with dbt Core. We've elevated the careers of 1 million analytics engineers. We've brought software engineering best practices to data. We've built the most inclusive, magical community in data. But the tech that got us here, dbt Core, isn't going to bring us into the future. And that's okay. In moments like this, I'd always prefer to lean into the future rather than getting anchored in the past. Fusion is the future of dbt. And Fusion is industrial grade. It was built by some of the most talented software engineers in all of data. And with industrial grade quality comes industrial grade investment. We need to build the business on top of this technology that it deserves, so that we can continue investing in it for many years to come. Choosing the Elastic license was our best answer to the question, how do we give the entire dbt community an exclusively better dbt experience while preserving space for ourselves to build a business around it? I continue to be a believer in open source, but I'm realistic about the resources required to fund it. This is my best answer to how to balance both. I could not be any more excited for the next decade of dbt, now powered by Fusion. If you're a dbt user and want to chat about licensing, please do ping me on dbt Slack. I'd love to hear from you. And that's the end of our time with you today. We covered a ton of ground in this release. It is without a doubt the single biggest release in the history of dbt Labs. I hope you're excited about what it means for you. This code, all of this code is live now, Get out there, play around with it. Let us know what you think. I can't wait to hear your feedback. Thanks, folks.